Hi, Debbie.
Hi,
How
Becky.
how are
Hi.
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, let's dive in. So, just a fun little quick question to kick us off. What's one thing that made you smile this week?
So this week I kind of had a kid on Christmas morning moment. I had ordered some custom seats for my Razor, my off-road car, and I've been waiting months and months, and they delivered them overnight, and I was asleep, and so my husband put them in the garage, and when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I ran down the stairs and went in the garage and to check them out, and I was just super excited and happy with how they turned out. Sometimes I have a hard time visualizing like what is that final product going to look like on my design. So it turned out exactly as I had hoped it would. So I was pretty excited.
So, give me a little bit of backstory. I mean, we've talked offline about your hobbies and things, but like, give us a little bit of backstory.
Yeah, so I have been off-roading since I was a little kid. My parents bought me an ATC when I was 5 years old. And so I spend a lot of October to April out in the Imperial Sand Dunes, which is down near the California-Mexico border. And so I go camping all the time. And 3 years ago, I bought a Polaris Razor. It's like a little sand car. It has two seats in it. I got custom designed with a wrap. It's bright red with leopard print. It's very girly. And it's just kind of cool because my husband and I originally bought the Razor thinking we could share. At the time, we both had quads, so we would ride on our own. And when we got it, I rode in it once and was like, "I'm not sharing. This one's mine." So I got to, really customize it and make it girly. And then he went and got his own. So yeah, that's one of our favorite things to do is go camping out in the sand dunes.
I love that. Are you RV camping? Are you camping in a tent? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, we're RV camping. When we first got married, we had this little tent that went in the back of our pickup truck. And it just got really difficult with the dog because the dog could not understand, the end of the tailgate. So we ended up getting a toy hauler. And then we've totally like revamped the interior. We've spent the last year doing a lot of remodeling and recovering balances. So I've learned a lot about upholstery that I didn't know. And so it's just been a lot of fun. This summer, we're taking a week and we're driving up to Oregon. The coast of Oregon has some beautiful sand dunes, and you ride up in the elevation, and when you look out in the distance, it's the beach and the ocean. So it's just really beautiful. So it's kind of allowed us to go to other states and enjoy their sand dunes as well.
I love that so much. So, talking about hobbies, you're a lady of many hobbies. You are the famous TydeCo cookie creator. We've taken
Yes.
your cookies literally all over the world. So, tell us a little bit about like how you got into baking and
Yeah, so I am a cookier in my off time, and it's actually interesting. So my mom loves to learn and she loves to go to classes, and she kept asking me to go to a cookie decorating class for sugar cookies. And I kept saying, no, they're hard, they're chalky, they're disgusting. Like, I'm not interested. So I finally broke down and went with her. And I don't know if you've ever decorated a sugar cookie, but you do the outline and then you flood it, and you take, it's called a scribe tool. It's really sharp like a nail, and you put it in the center and you give it a nice little shake, and all that bumpy icing just smooths out perfectly. And for some reason, that process just wowed me and it's very calming, and I loved it. So then I took a few more classes, and then family and friends would ask if I could do cookies for a baby shower or a wedding. And so I decided I was doing so many cookies, I would turn it into kind of a little side business. So it's been fun because it's so different from accounting. It's very creative. And so when I'm decorating cookies, I'm usually pretty relaxed and I'm having fun. And, but I still approach it like an accountant. So I am still like very particular and precise and perfectionist. There are times when I don't like it and I just scrape the whole top off and I have to start over again, which my husband says makes him crazy because he's like, to everyone else, it looks fine. But, to me, a little piece of it is off, and I can't stand it. But it's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of great people. I've got to really take part in special occasions for, a lot of families and friends and people I don't even know. So it's been a lot of fun.
oh, that's so cool. It's funny when we took them Matt and I went to South Africa last year. No, I guess it was the year before we hadn't even
Oh,
cooked.
yeah.
But it's so funny because I talk to team members over there who still have the cookies because they're
Oh
like,
my
it's so
gosh.
beautiful. We can't eat it. And I feel the same way. It's like you don't want to eat
Yeah.
it because it's like a little tiny work of art. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that with us. It's funny. I don't know if we've ever told you this, but like, we tell everyone like this is our divisional manager. She actually has this as a side hustle. She's an accountant by day and a cookie maker by night.
Yeah.
So that's how we.
It's fun. Yeah. A lot of people will keep them. I know someone, I made a Mother's Day arrangement and it was like a vase and some flowers. And she's had it in her china cabinet for probably 2 years. And I'm like, well, that's great. It's beautiful, but please don't eat. So yeah, I did when I very first started my journey. I bought a cookie from a local cookie. We call ourselves cookiers. And I bought one from her and I was curious myself how long it would last. And so I bought one of her cookies and I left it on my counter, and it was a good 6 months before it started showing signs of probably shouldn't eat it. But
Wow. Oh, that's too
so,
fun.
yeah.
Oh, we're very much looking forward to you're getting ready to do a bunch of cookies for some travel that we have coming up. So very excited to have Debbie cookies in my future.
Yeah.
So let's just dive in a little bit on obviously we did the whole brand launch. So we were three organizations, Let's Go Walderman, AW Cape, and Applico. And at the end of end of last year, after a long process, we have announced our new brand name, TydeCo, which was very exciting to finally let people, inside and behind the curtains to share our new name. We often talk about the meaning behind the name. So just for people who maybe don't know about it, we chose this name because we're based in, we have business in North America, South Africa. We're expanding into the UK. And so we wanted a name that was meaningful, on many levels. With TydeCo, we ended up going with TydeCo because the tides connect us. And we are a collective of people, a collective of organizations. We collaborate with our clients. So we love the CO because you can do a lot of things with it. But after we announced the brand name, we most recently have revealed our new values to TydeCo. So we felt like that was another piece sort of connecting us culturally as an organization because it's really important to us to create a space that people want to be a part of. We spend a lot of time working together. And so what do you think? What do you think the vibe and energy, the cultural energy is at TydeCo right now?
I think we have a really good culture and vibe. It's interesting to work with a team, that's halfway across the world. It's brought a lot of curiosity as the year goes on and holidays come up and school years start and end. It brings on a lot of conversation with each other about, when is your kid's school year? When does it start and end? What are those particular holidays that you're celebrating? And like my favorite conversation with the South Africa team was, what does your Santa wear at Christmas at the mall? Because for us, Santa's in a suit because it's snowy and a white Christmas, but for them, it's the middle of the summer. So I imagined South Africa Santa in like his board shorts with his surfboard. And they all laughed at me and they were like, no, Debbie, Santa wears the suit. So I said, okay, well, Santa at your mall must be like sweating to death because it's summer and it's hot. So I think it's been really fun. There's always a conversation, learning something from the other side that we didn't know. And I think it also brings a lot of cultural awareness and political awareness, things that we would never think of. And so I also have noticed with the team, currently they're very, very supportive of each other. So I got to witness some really cool team support and collaboration during 1099 season because we're in different time zones. So we had someone here on the West Coast with me who had submitted some things and they needed them reviewed and approved, but it was late on a Friday night in the East Coast. And so I got the email and, I'm logging in because I'm thinking I'm the only one that's still awake and can help. Meanwhile, someone from another state saw the email who's not on this person's team. They're not on this client. And they jumped right in and helped them. And I thought that was just really cool, that they're willing to jump in and help someone who's not even on their team, not even on their client, but they really just, want to make sure we all look good as an organization and the clients are happy. Another thing about our culture, what brought me to TydeCo was the whole work-life balance. When I was interviewing with TydeCo, I was told that work-life balance is important and it's something that we really ensure that our team members have. And I've heard that before. And in the accounting world, that really doesn't exist. You're working nights and weekends and it's really stressful. But what I found at TydeCo is we do live and breathe that work-life balance. People can go to their kids' events. If you've got a health issue and need the day off for something, it's not a big deal. And so I think we each value that work-life balance. So we make sure that we're not pressing someone else during their off time.
You are likely leading your team and doing that by example. So like, what do you think is different about your leadership style that encourages that team atmosphere to jump in, even when it's not your client?
I think I'd always demonstrate that. We just had a issue the other day. The client needed help with adding some Intact users and someone in the team needed help and I jumped in and did it. And then their particular manager was like, how did that end up with you? And I'm like, well, they needed help. And so I try to demonstrate that myself. And then I also, if a team needs help on something specific, like say they need IOTA help, I try to point them to the person that has that specialty. So I think they learn that it's okay to reach out to each other for help and go to the person who's most knowledgeable. And they are really open to helping each other. A lot of our team really enjoys troubleshooting in their area of specialty and getting to share their knowledge. Because when you see them doing like a training on their specialty, you really see them like they get excited and they light up. So I think everybody just enjoys it.
That's so cool. One of the things I love about your division in particular is you guys have really fun meetings. Can you tell us a little bit about, and I got to experience the vibes when we met you in person, but tell us about your meeting structure and how you keep it fun.
So we have our monthly cast team meeting and we have to go over a lot of, very important updates and, what's happening with the division. But we decided to add a little bit of fun. So like for Valentine's Day, our whole presentation was Valentine's themed with conversation hearts and stuff. But then after we're done with the business portion, we like to play a game. So for Valentine's, we played some Valentine love songs and we had the team like, can you name the tune, who sings it? But what was really funny is at the end of the meeting, we had a Whitney Houston sing along. And it was cool because people who are not comfortable sharing their cameras were singing Whitney Houston. And it just was a really fun moment. And then our most recent one, our team meeting, we did a travel theme. And so, our PowerPoint was about traveling around the world and seeing places. And so we took images of places around the world and we blocked them out. And then one by one, we would remove the blocks and they got to guess, where they thought it was. And it led to some really fun conversations about who's been to these places. Is this place on somebody's bucket list? And so it just was a lot of fun because the team gets to, laugh and relax and really get to know each other. So I think it's brought a lot of fun to the team.
At TydeCo, our values are keep it real, do more smarter, stay curious, we deliver, and better together. Did I get them all? I think I got them all.
You did.
All right. So tell us, what do the values mean to you personally?
I think that our values are kind of like our guiding principles and just shape the way we interact with each other, either internally or with our clients. And it reminds me of a time when I was younger. Everybody used to walk around with this UWJD bracelet. What would Jesus do? Mm-hmm. And so I kind of look at our values when we're facing challenges or discussing something as a team, like kind of like a what would TydeCo do kind of thing, or what would Snuffles do? And the change that we're talking about and what we're trying to accomplish, does it align with our values? Does it make sense? And is it going in that direction that, we've all agreed this is our values and this is who we want to be?
That's really cool. Do you have one that was that particularly resonated with you?
Yeah, I think I like keep it real because I think that when we face challenges or when we have to have difficult conversations with each other, we have to be honest, but we also have to deliver the message with empathy because I think some people think keep it real, I'm just gonna whatever comes out of my mouth. But I think we have to really focus on delivering the message in a way that someone can receive it versus I've said it so harsh that all the person can think about is, oh my gosh, that was so rude, versus let's focus on, the issue and working on it together. So I think keeping it real is really important when we have a mistake or an error, just to kind of, in all honesty, here's what happened and what can we do about it to make it better? Can we have a new process that can prevent it in the future? And just really focus on the issue and not making it personal. And I think if everyone does that and we speak with empathy and honesty with each other, I think we'll just be a stronger team.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you bring up a really good point. Like keeping it real doesn't mean being unkind
Right.
or hurting, in that way. I think empathy really is at the heart of keeping it real. And look, I sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's hard to
Yeah.
keep it real. And so
Yeah.
I hope that my hope is, and I'm trying to use this in my own, I work in the marketing department, so I'm trying to really keep this in mind for my own team, is like, even when it's hard, when you deliver it with empathy, and there's trust in that relationship, you're just coming at it, in the best possible way. Like you want to
Right.
grow from it and not, certainly not hurt people's feelings or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So you've obviously seen TydeCo evolve quite a bit over time.
Mhm.
What do you think feels most different about the culture today versus last year?
I think a big difference is we used to feel more separate and we were like operating in silos instead of as a team. And even amongst the cast department, I mean, major changes from last year. We had a situation where we didn't have direct reports. And so it was kind of this awkwardness, having to go to someone's manager instead of just addressing things individually with them. And so even among the cast team, we've restructured. I think we've got a much stronger team and it's more of a collaborative feel. So we have like dedicated one-on-ones with direct reports where we cover client work, goals, growth, training, but we're also working on building trust and getting to know each other. And so I think that that is a huge difference on the cast team. And I think when we have our global calls, I think one of the things that I really like is when we bring someone forward and we introduce them and who are they, what do they do, and what are they about? Because we see each other on these calls, but we don't, if we don't work on the same division or on the same team, we don't really know who are you and what do you do. And I remember last year I was on a client call as a guest and the leader of the call didn't show up and they were not on my team, not in my division. And I wasn't even sure how to get a hold of this person. Like I sent an email with no response and I'm like, I don't even know, like on my team, if there's an issue, I know who to call, but on this other team, I mean, I don't know who that contact is. So I think we've worked a lot of putting processes together and kind of mixing our teams. Like I joined the ERP quarterly call. So it's a whole different group than the cast team. So I get to meet a lot of different people and what they specialize in and then learn, okay, how can we help each other? So it's been a really good improvement.
So we talked a little bit about keep it real. Let's talk about we deliver. So, it's really about staying focused on what matters. As a leader, how do you personally keep your team aligned on impact over business?
Yeah,
Busyness.
so yeah, the cast team, our work is very cyclical. So every month we're starting over that new process. And what recently came up with one of our assistant controllers, we were on a call and we were looking at client budget versus actual, and we were trying to find why are we going over budget and what is it we're doing. So we really sat and we drilled down into the specific tasks that they were performing. And I started asking them why, like, why do you do that task and what does it accomplish? And, why does it matter to the client? And what we found is that we get so into this cycle and I got to do this and this and this and check these boxes that we don't stop and say, well, does this even make sense? Like, does the client get any value on what we're doing? And so what was really cool was for this particular client, we realized a certain process didn't add any value. And it really was just, another box to check. And so this morning I had a check in with that same assistant controller and they said, that was really helpful. So I went to my next client I was working on and I asked myself that same question, like, does this make sense? Is there any value to it? So they're able to kind of take that and apply it to each client and think like, am I just doing busy work and checking boxes, or is there really a purpose, to what I'm doing? And does the client really see value in it? So I think that's been really helpful.
So Let's talk a little bit about stay curious because it pushes us, which is hard because nobody particularly likes change, but it pushes us to challenge the norms just like you did with that. I feel like you demonstrated two things with that coaching moment. You demonstrated keeping it real and you were also staying curious. What can
Yeah.
we do? Why are we doing this? Help me
Yeah.
understand. And then like, let's make it better. But what's something you've learned recently that changed how you lead or you think about the business?
Recently, I had a conversation with a team member who, I've worked with them for years, and I noticed that they had kind of lost their spark. They're still getting their work done. It's accurate, it's timely, but they just didn't have that enthusiasm anymore. So I had a conversation with them and I said, and I just was very honest. And I said, I've known you a long time and, you used to have this spark and you loved your job and, really loved helping others. And I notice you're still doing a great job and still getting it all done, but you just don't look like you're enjoying it anymore, and is there something that you want to do more of that could help us, get your spark back? And they basically said that, there was certain tasks and job duties that they really loved, but it wasn't even a part of their job. So they were good at what they were doing, but it isn't what they wanted to do. So I took that back to the management team and we really talked about, how much we valued this individual and what their expertise was. And could we create a role that has more of these tasks and duties that really light this person up, that could benefit the team. And we're able to do that. And so it kind of makes me think like, are there other individuals on our team that would really love to do something maybe a little different that we could still, we could give them something that they love that lights them up and makes them happy, but also really benefits clients and the team. So I think like we both win, right? They're going to get their spark back and we're going to get this level of work that, we really needed out of them.
We are a global business and we are, you know, servicing so many clients, like literally across the world. And I always say we deliver like that top tier, like that top 100 accounting level service, but we still are like a boutique, smaller firm. And like these types of moments, like, okay, how can we like make the most and check the boxes, like it checks the box for the clients,
Yeah.
for the person. It's just like such a win-win-win, and I think that that's something that's like really special about working for a global organization that's like boutique and feel, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It feels like a small company, even though we're larger, because I've been stuck in those roles before where, you've kind of outgrown it and you don't love it, but that's your role and that's what you do. And there's no stepping out of it. So it's very cool that we always look at individuals and, what can we do better for them? That's also better for us.
So more smarter, it really sounds like a productivity mantra, but a little bit of a mindset. And I think we've talked about this a couple of times, but like, do you see your team members simplifying or streamlining in smart, sustainable ways?
Yeah, I definitely see the team working on do more smarter. Our team manager recently looked at our onboarding process and thought, we don't have a uniform documented process. And so what she was seeing is that sometimes the team kind of has this paralysis where they can't take a step forward because there's so much to do and they don't know where to start. And so she created an onboarding workbook for new clients, where she just kind of brought in the entire scope of work and she organized it into small steps. And what's cool about the workbook is it tracks everything. So the scope of work, our progress, the individual team members can go in there and put in their notes, what's completed or, what are we having a problem with and we need to discuss. And we also included, all the client follow-up emails in there. So anybody can go in there at any moment and track the progress. And the team has been loving it. So they love the structure. They've said that it makes it so much simpler. Everybody knows what they're doing and when they're doing it. And it's created a lot of efficiency. So it was something that we really needed. And it was just really great that she stepped up and created it on her own.
Let's circle back to keep it real. So, in what ways do you see this value showing up or needing to show up across teams and leadership?
Goodness. I think I see a lot of people on the team that do keep it real and they're great communicators and they can give, simple, easy to understand instructions. And I think sometimes some accountants kind of shy away from that, and they don't love to communicate face to face as much, and they're more, emailers. And so I think a big part of it is kind of blending the two. So like having more face to face meetings, more personal interaction with each other. And on those meetings, some of us are good at the empathy part, and some of us could use a little help with the empathy part. So just trying to get everyone kind of modeling that same behavior, like honesty, openness, but also with some kindness. So the message, is received and goes along a lot better. So I think, it's an area I think we do okay in, but I also think it's an area we could still work together to improve.
All right, let's close the loop on this section and talk about better together, because it's a pretty big statement. And obviously we are, as an organization, as most are, a work in progress. How do you build trust and collaboration in your division? And then it sounds like you're starting to introduce that collaboration and immersion into the other divisions. Like, are there any specific rituals or routines that you find to be helpful?
When I meet with a team member one-on-one, I always just like to start with, how have you been since our last time? What did you do over the weekend? Just kind of spend some time talking to them, getting to know them, and showing that I care, that I remembered you had a family barbecue, or, your child had an event at school or something. Because I think it goes a long way in showing that we're not pretending, but we actually do care about you, and you personally. So I try to do that with all my one-on-ones. And then when we have our team meetings, I like to just interject that fun at the end so that they can see each other in a different light. Because something that was very different globally that we had to learn is that the South Africa team at the beginning felt that the US team was just get to business, right? Like there was no friendliness. There was no, how are you? Are you even alive and breathing today? It was just like, let's just get straight to the business part. So we had to really instill in everyone, like, stop and get to know each other. And I think what's cool is that we can kind of blend our cultures. So we can take on some of what they do and be more friendly and more personable in our meetings. And I think that's a good thing that we do that. So we have those monthly team meetings where we have some fun and we laugh, and we also share some photos. So I usually ask the team, if you want to share a photo, we'll put it in the PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll call on you and you can tell us all about it. One of the really cool ones was Christmas time. Everybody sent in photos at Christmas, and it was really neat to see the difference in decorations and how people celebrate across the world. They eat different foods, and it's very different. So I think that's been fun, and, just kind of building that trust. And then another area that we really are working on with the team is who's knowledgeable about what industries. And so we really highlight that with the team, and we really pump them up, and we ask them to do a training, like do a training on your specialty, and then be the go-to person when someone needs help, because then it allows people that don't always work together to get to know someone different, and learn a little bit about them. And I think just that individual one-on-one time is helping to build some trust with the team.
So from your point, what do you think is the biggest cultural shift that actually needs to happen for us to thrive in this next chapter? I feel like we've got a really great foundation, but like, what do you feel like was like the next thing in our growth pattern?
I think the biggest thing we need to focus on for growth is just continuing to focus on technology. Technology has come so far, so fast in the last few years. I mean, I never thought I would be using AI to record my meetings and give me a summary, but it's very cool and everybody loves it. So I think just keeping on top of what is the latest and greatest technology, doing those demos, and then coming back and saying, does that benefit us? Does it benefit a client? And one thing that the cast did in the last few months is we created a technology committee, and we picked a few individuals on the team that love technology and love learning new software systems. And so it's been really cool because as something comes up, the team will go and they'll do the demo, and then they'll come back and provide benefits analysis. And in some instances, when it is a software that they do think that benefits either internally or a client, they come back excited, and they're so excited and they want to try it. And so if we do implement it, we already have some major buy-in from the team, because our team they're very technology focused. They love that. So I think in order to stay relevant and on top, we're going to have to really stay on top of, what technologies are out there and how can they help us, do things better.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's like, I love how these are just like, as being the person who like wrote the values, I was a little bit not in a silo, but kind of in a silo because I'm not doing like the day to day accounting work. But I feel like that came back to people are staying curious and they're motivated to do more smarter. And so I think that it's really cool to like hear these stories because I also think, oftentimes people will say like, change is hard and a lot of people won't necessarily love change. But the fact that we have so many people on our team who are not looking at it as like a change, but it's an opportunity
Right.
to do something better for our organization or for the client is it's really cool to see and like hear it playing through that like, okay, this is like truly running through our organization.
Yeah, what I noticed was before we named the values, the names of them weren't top of mind. But what I've come to notice lately is they're there, in our daily work. I was just doing an annual review with someone and I looked at what I wrote and it was one of our values. I just didn't name the value. So I think it's always kind of been there. So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of like continually bringing the names of the values up so people are, recognizing them.
Yeah, that's actually really great feedback. We should share that. And kind of why I'm like kind of bringing it back because it's like, cool, somebody
Yeah.
staying curious or that's somebody trying to do more
Yeah.
smarter. So I think that's cool. And um yeah, it is kind of one of those things and that's why we kind of put together when we presented like the what this looks like in action, just because like
Yeah.
I think it's hard to just like necessarily sit there and like come up with a thing. But like when
Right.
you talk about your day to day, you're like, oh, that's this or this is better together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This has been super fun. What is one leadership lesson that you feel like you've learned recently? You just got a promotion. You've stepped into a new
Yeah.
role. So tell us a little bit about that and tell us a lesson that you've learned.
Yeah, so I've recently stepped into the role of division manager of CAS. So I think it's really going to change my focus. Where before I was leading a team of controllers and assistant controllers, and I had a book of clients. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a step back from that, and I'm going to be looking at the division from a little bit of a different perspective. So looking at processes that we can put in place, procedures, profitability, and the big one is driving growth of the division. I've been doing a lot of the potential client calls where I get to meet these clients and see what are their needs and prepare an accounting analysis and what are recommendations and how do I think that we can help you. And it's been really exciting to sign some new clients and introduce them to the team and know that I have a solid team that's going to execute it and do a great job for the client. So that part has gone really well. I do have a recent leadership learning experience. It's not a pleasant one, but I'm going to share it anyway. So I usually will say that I believe that everybody comes to work and wants to do a good job, and that nobody comes to work and says, I'm just going to be a complete menace to everybody today. But I recently learned that some people don't want to learn, they don't want to grow, and they don't want to change, which really surprised me because I'm always asking for feedback and, what could I do better and where can I grow? But to meet someone who was just very set in their ways and not at all interested in learning the TydeCo way, not at all wanting to be a piece of the team. They don't, they just want to do their own thing. And so it was hard to accept that you can't make change with someone. It almost feels like a failure, but at the end of the day, you have to recognize that not everybody's going to change. Not everybody wants to. And so when you encounter those individuals, I think the best thing to do is just part peacefully and keep the team positive and moving forward and not kind of let it affect everybody. So I was a little surprised by that. I know I tend to think everybody thinks like I do, which is not true, but I just think, everybody's open to feedback and they want to be better, but not everybody agrees with that.
And I know we're wrapping up here on time. So let's imagine a future where when TydeCo is a global leader in both results and culture. Because, like I said, I feel like we are headed in such a really positive direction. I feel like, we're moving ahead and we have such an amazing foundation, but we are a work in progress. And I think we always will be. But when both results and culture align, like what do you feel like that looks like? And what's one step that you feel like we can take today to get there?
Yeah, I kind of have this vision of, what TydeCo would look like as a global leader. And I think we would be known as a company that delivers high quality services on time and that we continually exceed our client expectations. And I would hope that our name would be known around the world as a company that provides excellent service, but that we also have a team that is fun to engage with and that clients like talking to and working with. I would love to see our CAS team expand globally and to other countries. I know we're doing that with our Sage Intact implementation, so I would love to see the CAS team get there as well. I think that would be really cool. We're also going to be a company that's very tech forward. We're offering the latest and greatest technology internally into our clients and automating as much as we can, getting rid of some of those routine tasks that don't really need as much human attention. But I think one of the things I would think would be really cool to see is for TydeCo to be one of those companies on the magazine, like the 100 greatest places to work, because I always look at that and I'm like, who are those companies and what do they offer, And so I think that would be really cool for our team to see that, because we really value our team. We value the work-life balance and all their contributions. So it just would be really cool to see that. And I think just getting the entire team to have this global mindset, because it's interesting that we don't all see business the same. We don't think the interactions should be the same. The South African team thinks the US team needs a little more friendliness to the meetings. I've met with some of the South African team and they've mentioned that their business culture is people pleasing. And, and I've explained to them, like on the US side, people pleasing isn't really a great thing, because when we ask to meet a deadline, we need to know in all honesty, yes or no, if it can be done. We just prefer that. Just keep it real and say, Debbie, Friday's not happening. It's going to be Tuesday. So that way we can adjust client expectations. So I think an overall continue to kind of mesh our different business cultures. And I think we're on a good path to getting there. But I think the biggest step we could take to get there is just lay out the ultimate vision, like what do we see? And then what are the little steps to get there over time? And just taking those small steps piece by piece to build on our foundation and get there.
In one word, this is tough, I think. I don't know that I could do it. What do you hope people feel when they think of TydeCo culture?
So I had to really think about that. I'm going to go with what do I feel when I think about TydeCo culture? And I think of collaborative. I think I really see a lot of collaboration in the CAS division and, between CAS and ERP. I see it all the time. One side has an issue and they need help and the other side has a specialist. And so we jump in and say, hey, I can help you with that. So I think collaborative is a good word to describe us.
I think that's a great one, because I think that it's not just, and I've seen it, with clients, how collaborative we are. It's always a conversation, not necessarily,
Right.
It's a give and take back and forth. And I think it's something that leadership, like over in South Africa, there are other, obviously Sage business partners. And, I've seen the interaction even between the business partners and collaborating, how can people are always willing to help each other out. And I think that that's so important, especially in the world that we live in today. So it's cool to see that coming through.